but I wasn't thinking at all, because I'm stupid, that I was licking the bowl a lot. It'd be like, oh, darn, I got it all sorted out. And I'm like, how's that spoon doing? I would just be eating, like raw brownie mix,
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
All right, everybody. Welcome to One Fucking Hour. Your host, Evan Husney. Joined, of course, to my left by Tom Fitzgerald. Tom, what's up?
Hey, sup? I'm never going to get it right. It's always going to be awkward.
Yes, it will be. It will be. And to my right, we have Marcus Herring. Marcus.
What's up, guys? I'm phoning in from that's
the Aloha Kid, isn't it?
Yeah.
doing a radio show, so yeah, in Palm Springs, but I'm not here for Coachella, so
okay.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, Marcus always coming to us from on location.
Undisclosed. He gets around.
He does. A lot more.
He gets around more than Deltacron or whatever it's called.
Oh my god! All right, everybody, welcome to episode 25 of
Oh
my
god, man!
Yeah,
I can't believe we got that much under our belt.
I know.
Unreal.
Here we go. And this fucking hour is, of course, on the 1978 film "Remember My Name," directed by Alan Rudolph. And guys, I'm gonna start that clock. So let's
The
do
dreaded clock.
Okay, here it goes. And begin. All right, let's give everybody a quick heads up on what the movie is. Remember My Name is the 1978, check this, I'm calling it a neurotic noir, directed by Alan Rudolph and produced by Robert Altman. It tells the story of Neil Curry, played, of course, by Anthony Perkins, who lives a seemingly happy life with his wife, Barbara. And she's played, of course, by Anthony Perkins' real-life partner, Barry Berenson, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, Barry Berenson. They were married, so his
They were
wife.
married. Okay, his wife, Barry Berenson. In California, their life of domestic bliss is disrupted when mysterious ex-con Emily, played, of course, brilliantly, masterfully by Geraldine Chaplin, who's later revealed as Neil's first wife, begins to stalk the couple and wreak havoc in order to claim Neil back. So this is it. Remember My Name. But of course, before we started recording, we were talking about, man, you can't even see this fucking movie. So, right, Tom?
Yeah, it's never. This is rare. This has never formally had any kind of home video release of any kind. Meaning, even some very obscure films today that aren't on Blu-ray maybe had a VHS in 1982 or something like that. Those are deep cut movies and sadly hard to find in good quality. But this one, you've only ever been given the chance really through like TCM. TCM airings and kind people who've wound up TiVoing or VHS recording it. So
thank you, Ted Turner.
Right.
Yeah,
and
really.
You can dig and find a bootleg DVD like this one right here.
Hello.
Which I have. And of course, anybody listening, if you're watching this episode and you want to see the movie, definitely follow us on Instagram. It's in the comments of the video. And DM us, and we'll hook you up, man, because this movie is worth watching. Many of you did DM us to see it, and we sent it off to you, so hopefully you checked it out. And let's get into it, though, Tom.
I was going to say, it's one of the films that really is totally level in worth seeing and the hard to seeingness of it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the scales aren't quite as even, but like this is really one of the top couple films that are as criminally underseen that still to this day, 2022, probably has nothing in sight as far as a release. And it's just a shame. So, okay. Speaking of, I first saw it. I'd heard of it a little bit, but first saw it in the 90s. Okay, me and my dumb friends and dumb me were like, let's make pot brownies some random night. I was like, for some reason, I was in charge of the stirring, and I wasn't thinking at all.
What year is this?
98, 97.
Okay.
Go back in your mind. So to those
Sugar
wild
Ray.
days. Yeah.
Like
yeah,
Sublime.
right. Lots of Sublime, yeah. Lots of Puff Daddy. So the thing is, I wasn't thinking of doing the math. I thought, well, man, I should temper this. I've heard it gets really heavy to do brownies. Okay, so I'm like, well, I'll just have one when it's done. But I wasn't thinking at all, because I'm stupid, that I was licking the bowl a lot. It would be like, oh, darn, I got it all sorted out. And I'm like, how's that spoon doing? You know, I would just be eating, you know, like raw brownie mix, you know. And so I got frighteningly stoned. Nothing even close ever before or since. And I hated it. It was terrible. Maybe some other people have had that experience. There is such a thing as getting too stoned, and I don't know what kind of strain of pot it was. Maybe it was like, you know, paranoid extra, you know, or whatever. So I lost my mind. It was the middle of the night. Me and my girlfriend were settling in, and like it hadn't happened, but then it came roaring in, and it was just like, oh, you know. And I was like, I hate this, and I literally was doing this. I cannot be inside. I can't be inside. I can't be in walls. Like, and then I just run outside to the street, and I'm like, this is worse. It's like everything's raw and out of control, and I have nothing. And there's cars and people and strangers and noises, and I got to get back in. So I finally relaxed a little bit. So long story short, what I'm saying is that this was, of course, my mind state when I first saw Remember My Name. I switch on TV to calm down.
Perfect.
It's like midnight or something. I know, right?
Great
and I know, but really, I didn't really know much about it. I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't know what to expect. So I was completely out of my mind, blown away. And I was holding on to every tiny, subtle nuance. And we'll talk more about the nature of this film, but like the quiet, the stillness, the isolation, the loneliness, the empty spaces, the dead streets of Southern California, which I knew, born and raised in that area. We'll talk about that. But all that was so incredibly vivid, you know, was that crushing stoned. I was calmer now. So I was just regular, deeply stoned. And it was just, and it got inside every cell of my brain permanently. And it was a very special film experience. And it was just beautiful and so perfect. And by the end, I was just blown away by her, Perkins. Yeah. So that's how I first saw it. And
amazing.
I don't know.
This was like a frequent. Sorry, this was a frequent movie that was on cable, right? Like this would always be on cable, or not?
I don't know how often, but it was on cable enough. It was on like TCM. Actually, I watched it last year on TCM.
Right.
Like in the morning, like Saturday morning, and it was great. Amazing. It was, you know, it's great to revisit. No, TCM has it in some kind of rotation. You know?
I got it. So Marcus, though, this was your first viewing of this movie, right?
Yeah. I'm not really. That's my first time seeing the movie. Yeah, I was like about 0% stoned, but I felt I don't really know that much about Alan Rudolph. Like, you know, I'm a Altman fan. I remember reading about Geraldine Chaplin. I like Anthony Perkins, so it was a good movie for me. But and I really enjoyed it. But the only thing I knew about Alan Rudolph was Tom was getting me really sprung on the soundtrack to Welcome to LA once, and we're kind of goofing on that. And you know, one night very, very late. So you know, I always had an image of his film. Anyway, it was very rewarding film. I'm glad to sit through it.
Yeah, and Welcome to LA.
Remember My Name.
Yeah.
Welcome to LA. Those songs. Yeah. Wow. Can we do that one sometime?
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting, actually.
Yeah. Welcome to LA is Alan Rudolph's first film, and we should talk a little bit about him.
Well, not quite. Just 2 seconds. It's like he did Exploitation, and that's his first real film. Welcome to LA. But he did Hippie, Exploitation, Premonition, and he did. Hey, somebody had to direct Barn of the Naked Dead, and he did it.
Okay, there you go.
He made trash in the early 70s. But
we should say about Alan Rudolph as the director of this movie is that he is the protege of Robert Altman, and he worked as an assistant director on Long Goodbye and Nashville. So he's coming up from Altman, and of course, as I said at the top of the show, Altman produced this film, probably put his name on it to help it get some more exposure. But one thing that's interesting that Mr. Rudolph said about this movie that's kind of clipped everywhere if you read any review of it, he basically calls Remember My Name an update of the classic female melodramas of the Bette Davis, Barbara Stanwyck, and Joan Crawford era. Which is interesting because I don't really see that in this. I see it more like kind of noir. Like I actually kind of see it more like a Cape Fear, or more like even a deeper cut sort of act of violence. One of my favorite noirs of all time. both those movies are about the stalking and disrupting of domestic life, and you're looking to get revenge on the people that are responsible for you being in jail. That's and that disruption of domestic life as it's pictured in this movie is very intense and so terrifying.
So well done.
So well done.
If I can interject real quick, it's funny you should say noir. I've that's a shorthand. I guess even Rudolph, the director, uses that. Referencing noir, and I get the point in the plot, but what's so cool about it is that it doesn't have any of the stylization of noirs, which probably would have tempted lesser directors. Like, what I mean is, there is no music except, there's the Alberta Hunter songs that only really happen with her. They're like her theme music, Right. And that, I'm saying, that's separate than like dramatic music, a score. So it's just flat as a pancake sonically outside of the Alberta Hunter music. And that's not very noir. Like, there's no like suspense building music, that kind of thing. And just all that more. And what we're saying, what we were saying off the air was just one of the things I respond to. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California. And around the late 70s, I kind of went, I became sensitized to my environment, and which is exactly what this film feels like. Just Southern California. It's a strata that's more and more outside of Los Angeles now, kind of priced out, but just working class people and neighborhoods and storefronts they go to and work at, people who take the bus. People still do. There's still more diversity in people's income in this big city, unlike San Francisco, New York. What I'm saying is there's less and less of that, and it's a great snapshot. Take my word for it. Of I call it like the thrifty drugstore parking lot, back alley, LA, and I don't think anybody does it better than Rudolph in creating a place. And that, again, what I'm saying is how he depicts it is it's not stylized and it's not romanticized, except the bar scenes. You know what I mean? But there's very little stylization. So all I'm saying long-windedly is that it's an incredible thing where it's noir tropes and with incredibly flat naturalism, of course, like an Altman. Altman is most naturalistic. Altman is most naturalistic, like California Split. That's very like shitty Reno parking lots and bathrooms in like betting joints, like the dog races or whatever. Like and so I love that because and he does it more subtly than I think some of the times that Altman does genre tropes and plays with genre in generally. Even like he does it in such a subtle way that the point of the film is the characters and the storytelling, and not so much like the pyrotechnics of filmmaking. So I'm rambling, but just open up some topics. The naturalism meets kind of classic Hollywood storytelling. What do you think? What are your impressions?
Oh man, 100%. I think one of the when you combine that aspect of this movie, of that amazing naturalism, but also with, I know this is something we want to get into with this movie, is just that this film does something that leapt out to me watching it again just earlier today, is that it does an incredible job of holding its cards in terms of, it doesn't reveal the exposition of the fact that she's an ex-con, that she used to be with Anthony Perkins, and you're still trying to get a sense of what their past life together was, and it's revealed very slowly throughout the whole film. And I know that Marcus, there's these great visual sort of metaphor moments along the way that help us reveal that right off the bat, right?
Definitely. I think it's just briefly to the point you're saying, it's amazing how they hold it out till they almost, you don't really understand her till the very end,
right.
And and the tone of the movie changes somewhat, from her being like she's sort of like a villain. You think she's maybe a villain up until the last 2 minutes, and then you realize she kind of earns a protagonist type thing in the last 2 minutes. It's pretty amazing. And then with Perkins, I feel like you don't realize that he's somewhat complicit in the whole thing until an hour and 20 minutes into the movie, and you start to get a different feeling for him too. So yeah, I do think that is an incredible job of maintaining the audience's attention, building that intrigue, and then once it's revealed, things are meaning is added to the story, and it changes your sort of interpretation of the story. So it's really masterful in terms of a film that way. I didn't want to move on to talk about the symbolism until I briefly mentioned that, but I think what you're referencing just in terms of like the symbolism is that there's a handcuff shot, right? And like there's something about this movie that just backing up a little bit, I think that he almost approaches it like yes, it's about he's influenced by films, he's influenced by, but I think he's also influenced by something other than films. Just like maybe an era where directors didn't just like reference movies and TV shows. Like I feel like there's a literary quality to this film, almost like if a film is like what a novelist is to a book, this filmmaker is to the film, and like I think that some of the ways that comes out is like in the like there's a lot of symbolism and things that are objects that the camera sort of lingers on, and in some I feel like there's just for example, it lingers on this handcuff shot.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the film, she's in a department store, and we see some handcuffs like on the edge of a mannequin, and it lingers on there for a second, and it's one link is undone and one link is still on the mannequin, and like if you pay attention you realize like that it's a symbol saying that she's like halfway inside the prison still and halfway free in the outside world. She's sort of between those two things. I think a lesser film, or like maybe today in a film, they would try to use that as like a Chekhov's gun or something and say like they linger on that handcuff, and the director would have her like steal the handcuffs and use them later. Like everything is like plot driven objects and stuff these days. And yeah, I feel like this is like it's used. There's so many other moments in the film that use it as like symbolism, and are like the same with an author was like a metaphor in a book or something. It's more powerful, deeper meaning than just like plot.
Maybe the word here is subtle. I know that seems like that word gets thrown around a lot with a lot of films, but this is one of the great examples of the powerful subtlety in a film, and how much power can happen in the smallest nuanced ways. And he totally does it. It never gets that big, It never gets that. There's little, and you know what? When a movie like this is keeping a low keel, when something does get kind of big, it's incredible. Like when he stabs the guy with the pencil in the armpit, or the incredible knife confrontation in the kitchen. It's so, it's in the context of just a mood piece. So it punctuates any kind of quote unquote action. And that's bold, and not everybody can do that. And most people don't even try because it's kind of scary to make something so subtle, because you're trusting your audience.
Of course. Well, but it's really masterful writing, and I think exactly with that shot, that amazing shot when you see the handcuffs, and you get that sort of idea of what's going on here, because there's a lot of emphasis on that. But I think the scene when it really hits you that Emily, Geraldine Chaplin's character, is in ex-con, is in that first scene when she sort of strong arms getting the job with Jeff Goldblum. Great early Jeff Goldblum performance, by the way, in this movie. And he mentions to him that there's that great exchange when you kind of find out that Jeff Goldblum's mom was in prison with Geraldine Chaplin.
Or still is.
Is still in prison.
Yeah.
And then says, she has her own shower now, and she has work detail now in the Slammer. And so that's just a great way to reveal.
Yeah, I hear you. I picked up on it too.
Filmmakers, writers, take fucking cue on that shit. That's the way to do it, if you need to slide in some exposition,
I know what you mean, very subtly. Exposition of all kinds too. Like every word that she says or action, you learn more about the character. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I think maybe, like with Buddhism, like we need to not talk about the branches of this film, but really talk about the trunk. You know what I mean? And that's the performances of, right off the bat, is Geraldine Chaplin. She's a great actress overall. Like pretty much you can count on her in any film she's in. But oh my God, this film! I mean, it's boring to talk with hyperbole. You know what I mean? But it is a tour de force, and I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it. I wonder if maybe some females, not to get into gender, but like might really pick up on some really special nuances, because I was thinking about this, like how many films where the lead is an unlikable lead, a confusing lead that's a female role. I mean, that's very common to have an anti-hero. That's nothing at all. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Male, excuse me, anti-hero male. but she's such a complicated character. And you guys were referring to this earlier, where I don't know if your opinion. I don't know if she evolves in front of you on screen. Which is very interesting. I think you see different aspects of her, but it's not a progression, which is a very normal way to do character development, which is just like, ooh, she's mysterious. Why did she break that window? Or why is she yelling at somebody? And then it's explained, the key opens the door. It's actually, I'm still befuddled by her by the last frame. You know what I mean? So what I mean by that is not the more you know about her, the less you know about her, but more that she's just more complex is all I really learned about her. And I think just in tandem with her, learning more about her and still being mystified is their relationships. I just want to open that up.
Yeah.
That I'm intrigued because we find out, you guys mentioned this earlier, you find out a bit more, like they were married and whatnot. But I have a lot of questions about their relationship. He was a bit of an enabler, for instance. I'll shut up. But he explains to his current wife, it wasn't murder, it looked like murder. And it's like, what is their relationship? It's very, very intense, you can tell. And it feels like two very messed up people got together 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'm going to explode. Yeah. Just to kind of marry your thought and what I was saying earlier about the sort of exposition unfolding, which is so brilliant with this movie, then let me just get into her character, if I can. It's like that scene, it's so amazing how, when she throws the thing through the window, which is that whole sequence is amazing too. And he runs out after her. Hey, you as the audience, you think this is just some random person who is terrorizing this family, of course, and then he lies to his wife. But then, as the movie goes on, you find out that there's this involuntary manslaughter situation that happened when Anthony Perkins and Emily were together, right? And then, of course, he's like, well, yeah, it was an accident, but it was meant to look like a murder, and you're trying to picture in your mind what the fuck that means.
Excuse me, a prequel right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I think even one reviewer described this movie as like, it feels like when you're watching it, you're actually like almost stepping into the movie halfway from the starting point.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say in a really bad way. Absolutely.
Yeah. It almost feels like he knows, like he's kind of aware of her already. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like he's already kind of watching her in the rearview mirror or something. He's sort of aware of her periphery earlier on, or it feels like he is. He's expecting her or something. He's noticing her more, but he doesn't act on it. So yeah, he feels complicit. I just want to mention briefly about Geraldine, that a lot of it is the physical performance and obviously her dad's Charlie Chaplin, right? So she does it almost wordless for a lot of it. You get so much just from her mannerisms and gestures and her eyes. And when she does speak, half the time it feels like she's rehearsed it. We see her rehearsing things she's gonna say, and trying to sound normal.
Yeah,
it's very interesting to watch her just to spend so much time with somebody like that and have that performance be done so well.
Yeah, it's it feels rehearsed, exactly. I mean, and it literally is rehearsed because she's trying to be like, is this how human beings interact?
Yeah.
But see, it's also it really still just ends with such mystery, because all I'll say is it can be somewhat explained that she's been in jail for 12 years. Okay, but she wasn't in jail before then, and she's an adult, so she would have had all those years under her belt of socialization. But something's wrong. Forget jail for a second.
Can I give
something's
you my take?
wrong with her already? Yeah, get her on,
please. Yeah.
So my take on this movie, just from a thematic sort of point of view, is that the movie deals with, and another great visual metaphor, right in line with that handcuffs on the mannequin, is this idea of this movie is all about facade and role playing and past lives. That's a lot what this is about. And I sort of look at her as a shapeshifter in this movie, in a lot of ways. And it's beautifully executed in terms of a metaphor by the beginning of the movie starts in a clothing store where she's trying to appropriate the look and feel of somebody. And then by the end of the movie, she's also in the clothing store and she looks like a totally different person. And she's now fully come full circle into her former life and what the life she was probably leading in New York City. But I will say,
right. I just got a call. She even calls out there. She says that dress. They ask her if they want to box up that dress, and she says it never fit me very well anyway. The dress that she's been wearing for the entire movie.
Well, she's shedding the skin.
She put on that costume.
Well, I mean, if I think oh, sorry. Evan was talking about the thematic.
Yeah, I just to put a fine point on it, I was just going to say is like
just finish up.
The other great visual metaphor to the idea of facade is the idea that you have Anthony Perkins' character who's building this house, this half-finished house, and it is kind of this idea. And then as you learn with his character as well, is you learn that here's a guy who's living this kind of false facade of a blue-collar worker vibe that he doesn't even fit into. And she sees this and is like, this is fucking bullshit. We were in New York City living the Mad Men life, where you were stupping your secretary. Yeah. And so all of this is so false, to Emily. This idea that, he is had this former past life, which I think this movie is about past lives. Of course, as audience members, we're getting little hints of what their past lives are. We don't even have the full picture. But to me, it's so interesting that through her eyes, he's living this completely false, unhappy, presumably unhappy life, with this very domestic, suburban, whatever you want to call it, life, wherever they're living. And she just comes in as this almost like psychic terrorist, coming in to disrupt this life that he has to kind of and what's interesting is that cracks him immediately as soon as they have that beautiful moment in the jail cell, which is a great, dramatic, incredible performance, that whole scene. But that totally cracks him and sends him right back to his old self. And immediately he loses his job. He starts fucking drinking. His marriage falls apart. And you get that glimpse of Anthony Perkins in sort of, the sort of Mad Men, if you will, Manhattan lifestyle of presumably 12 years prior, which is, I think, is just all I'm trying to say is, and I'll shut up, like you say, is this movie is really about the facade and the roles that we play in life. And it's very interesting that she's a shapeshifter throughout this movie in terms of where she starts and where she ends, but it's also kind of about the role that the false facade of Anthony Perkins' character and bringing him back to the way he used to be when they were together. I'm done.
Which was not a good place.
Right.
That's the thing. Well, I think there's two things going on then, like from Anthony's perspective, which is I'm assuming that this is a portrait of an unsatisfied person. Him,
Right.
It's kind of, that's kind of a 101 thing. It's a classic unhappy home kind of thing,
right?
With a quiet despair, not volatile, but what be careful what you wish for in a way, because his angel of darkness that comes in and upsets the apple cart of his staid, unsatisfying life is a double-edged sword. It's probably exciting. It reminds him of his past. He probably has, like wild, great sex with the Chaplin character. But what does it get him? Like in a night of unbelievable alcohol consumption.
Oh my God.
And just calamity. And of course he wakes up and she's gone. You know what I mean? In fact, I wrote this down. So they have sex. She charges his credit card. She loses the wedding ring. And she splits town and buys a bunch of dresses. And like in a way, there's I think two things. I think another big thing is there's two people who want very weird things obsessively, and her obsession is, I wouldn't call it revenge. I would call it she needed a psychic hard break or psychological. Well, sorry, that's not what I'm saying. Psychological hard break for herself. To say that was then, this is now, and she, right. I don't think is going to think, like she's purging their relationship in him. That's why you see the missing wedding ring. That's another. You guys were talking about this before, about this significance of almost insert shots, close-ups, and one of the very last things you see is that there's a demarcation in her finger, right, or wedding finger of the absence of it. It's not tanned. So anyway, all I'm saying is this is kind of bullshit thing, but like my gut is telling me, this is one of my sentences, just it's not about him ever. It's about her purging herself of whatever all that stuff was, the person she was with him.
Right.
Like purging, because the skin, again, the shedding of the skin with the clothing, because I don't think she's going to ever want to see him again, think about him, or anything else. She's going to have a completely different life. She needed to have this exorcism. And it involved,
I think that's part of it, yeah.
One sex act and then out.
I think that's part of it. I mean, I do think that's an element of it. You know what I mean? Like, for sure. Like, because she seems so cleansed at the end, and we see her get rid of that dress and get new clothes, and like she's heading off to somewhere else. She might even be in the desert. She's on Mulholland Drive. She drives off into like heaven, basically, at the very end, right? But you can't. I think you also can't ignore that. Like, she does want a little. She wants to. She doesn't want him to have a happy life because she sacrificed, you know,
right.
And that, you know, she disrupts his life, she ends up locking him into like a prison, basically. When we see that like happen, she has the security. Sorry, Evan, I know you want to. Do you want to take this?
No. I'm actually
guard lock him in and.
No, I'm totally.
She has a security guard friend lock him in the house, and then we see the external shot behind the bars, you know, which is mirrored to the shot we see earlier.
It's a repeated shot at the very end of the exterior.
Yeah. She wants him locked inside of she wants him to be separated from his life.
No. What she wants, again, metaphorically, she's a very deep person. She wants to have this very deeply accessed purging. And she wants him to not like feel bad, like, oh, I got divorced and fired. She wants him to want her forever, and and to like transfer this ugly virus of wanting, and give him forever what she's been playing with until she purged it, like because he's now cursed with longing, and she's gonna never ever be anywhere near him again, and he'll probably start pursuing her. Or at least in his mind and his heart.
In his mind, yeah. I see what you're saying. I think that there is a little bit more of a harder revenge edge to it in the fact that I do think that she's disrupting this false life that he's living now. I think that's what sets her off. When she starts to come into town and see what he's doing and these flowers, oh my fucking God, and all this bullshit, that the life that he's living, he's now trying to pose as a house builder. I don't know, construction worker.
No, I know.
Fuck this. And
drinking a beer after work.
Yeah. She does not want to be with him. She just wants to fuck up his life, and she does a really good job of doing it in a very short amount of time.
And she's trying to bait him into it, in the most. She has many different ways of trying to work herself into his life, walking around like a. With the outfit on outside. Yeah, she tries a lot of things to get his attention.
She mainly manipulates.
She gets him to. As soon as they get together, she's like, "All right, start pouring the drinks because now's my time to get in there."
What's brilliant about the performances between the two is the fact that because she does, the power of her seduction, especially in the bar scene when he just gives up the job and they go drink and they get blitzed, it really does give you a nice little hint. Again, lets the audience use their imagination as to whatever that strong bond they once had.
That is what Evan has been. I mentioned it earlier. That's the main takeaway I've had. That's not just like, oh, I wish I could know more, just for fun. But I'm glad the film didn't reveal too much about their past. That would have sucked. Flashbacks, whatever. But it's very curious to me because here's what I'll say. Forget her, forget him. They had clearly a very powerful bond. And it's sort of like, in a movie when you know what I like? Sometimes there's movies that start where something horrible's happened and the film starts there and it's these people and it's you don't really quite know what it was. You know what I mean? And this reminds me of that kind of thing where like a bomb went off in their lives. And it was not her going to jail or anything like that. That was an aftermath. But whatever they had was this incredibly combustible, powerful, probably very dysfunctional relationship that was like too intense. And these people are both fucking nuts in their own way. And they came together and it became a nightmare. And we're not seeing the nightmare. We're seeing the aftermath. Was her prison sentence. And then this little episode here that she needed to do, and to him. Yes, I agree with you. I think it's double-sided though. I think it's like because there's a lot of feeling between them. It doesn't feel ice cold to me where it's just like I'm getting him back. Like she doesn't have sympathy, I guess, for him because she wants to do these things to his life. But also, I'm going to just totally lay on the BS here. She probably knows him so well that she almost is making this an act for him to get back to who he is, because he's living as a zombie in this fake, like you're saying, suburban lifestyle. And maybe she's not even doing it with just pure malice. It's just like, I know you, you fucker. I'm going to shake you up because I know you, spider monkey.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also
I thought that was
close.
I really love that, because you feel
really close.
when she calls him Spider Monkey, you do feel it's like you feel that
They're
history.
close.
You know, it's so cool
They're
that they can
very
just
close.
use that. They can just use that little pet name to like imply that
They so
there's more
much.
history, and all of a sudden you feel it in that moment. And it's so sophisticated too, to like the way that we mentioned this earlier, but the way that they draw it out until then, because you're not even sure like if she's terrorizing him or like unwanted it, you know, he doesn't want it or whatever, or you know, you're not really sure what their relationship is going to be until that moment, and then you feel that history.
You know what I think
and
it
I
is?
think that's also like what helps the music make sense too, in a way. Like you mentioned that it's about past lives, and when we start to learn about their history, we realize like why the music fits. I think it's because like there's a disconnect between this Alberta Hunter music, and I looked into her. I guess she did stuff on Broadway in New York, you know, so it's like it's an older music that doesn't fit the time so well. It doesn't fit the locale. It doesn't fit her. It's cooler music than her walking around in her like ex-prison clothes, smoking, trying to be cool, trying to be normal. And you've got this like really slinky, sexy kind of like blues Broadway music or whatever playing.
Marcus,
I think
you know what it is? It's music you hear at a bar when you're drinking, right?
Yeah, right. No, it is that. Yeah, and I hear that like it's like it's a relic of their past. Like she's playing the music in her head of like what the past was, you know. And
Totally.
I think there's this disconnect with the music all the way until that moment, and then it starts to make sense to me. Like, oh, okay, they were in New York. This is the past. This is like, and it starts to like kind of gel. I think that's really brilliant to like put that forward. You know, to have the soundtrack be that big a part of the movie. You know, and then have it revealed too. It's very smart, I think.
But again, we cannot underestimate. I think there's a great significance. Just to clarify for everyone, just as a reminder, they were drinking a bar menu from the bottom up, and that is an incredible consumption of alcohol.
That's true.
And all I mean by that is just like I think this was incredibly alcohol driven, and that's clear. In that scene, you know, like that's like in a way, I think that's their thing. That's their bonding. It's like, come on, you and me, Alberta Hunter and the jukebox.
I mean,
the martini glass is teased like earlier in the film.
I mean,
too.
Manhattan in the mid '60s. I mean, is like a you don't have to imagine. But
there's an amazing like shot that like reveals the martini glass the first time, and it just shows the nice planning and preparation and filmmaking involved. Like he's like up on the like construction platform, you know, and they're done with the shot and they just pan down out of the shot, and then it just like whoop, then they kind of like do a pan into the martini glass neon sign for the first time. It's just like a brilliant, like you can see that there's all these little touches of like not just like we're gonna shoot the film and edit it together. Like there was shot with like intention of like this is gonna be the wipe and how we transition. You know,
like there's a place for every shot that was shot.
Gotta love the dime store. Dantana is also a location for that scene as well. But one thing I wanted to say real quick, just to close this loop and let's get out of here, is the idea about the revenge in the movie too. I wanted to see if you guys picked up on this at all. We talked about it, but also something that's subtle in the movie and something that's not explicit and you're kind of left to your own devices on, is the idea of when he does explain, when Anthony Perkins explains to his wife in the movie, his current wife in the movie, that it was an accident meant to look like a murder, and then when you sort of get the other little threads of that,
that's great.
I have a feeling too that he must have done something or provoked something, or was a catalyst to that involuntary manslaughter charge in some way.
No, she was trying to kill. He probably slept with another chick.
Yeah, he
probably slept with another. Yeah, he slept with another woman, and she found out, and she tried to kill her and make it look like an accident. No, look, it's really one of the this film, or Perkins' character reveals itself one of the few times perfectly is in how he tries to talk away and explain to his wife, like, I know it looks like murder, it's like it's like whoa. And I guess it's part of it's enabling her, but also part of it is they have a bond, even if she did try to kill someone, that's deeper than he'll ever have with the wife. We're running out of time, and we should get out of the thematics, talk about film technique, but I just, so we don't miss it, I'd like to just get out of the way the thing about Anthony Perkins' real wife, who plays his current wife in the film.
Sure.
This creeped me out. I saw this film a second time on TCM not long after 9/11. Okay, bear with me. So not long after 9/11, and I had found out in the news of 9/11 that an actress died on the first plane to hit the first tower. It was Barry Berenson, the current wife, the short-haired blonde woman in Remember My Name. And then I watched Remember My Name again, and for those who observed it, there's this really spooky, totally unexplained, but very intentionally done, the sound of jet engines low going across everybody's place, like especially the Perkins household. And it's so extra creepy now once you know that.
Yeah.
Side note, but just, the last little bit, for some reason, every time the news is on, just two little bundle quick things. The news is always disaster news. It's about this huge earthquake, which is very odd and, again, incredibly intentional. And I think akin to the unexplained, use of the jet engines. TVs are on all the time, and it's always bad news, and it's 99% of the time about this huge earthquake or about depression, sourced from junk food chemicals, and like just being philosophical and bummers. And it's like, this is a weird world of like impending plane crashy sounds and bad news on the TV. I mean, just an observation, and it's extra spooked me when 9/11 happened, like I was saying. But
yeah, there's a moment that Barry owns, like where her psychology shifts in the film, and it's like the loudest plane thing over. It's like a big moment for her where she's like understanding what's happening with Anthony Perkins or whatever, and like there's this, that airplane goes right over her head, like in the just sound audio wise in the film, and so it's like it's deep. Not only is it in the film a lot, it's like connected to that character, which makes it very.
When is that?
Yeah,
I
know
exactly. When is that again?
They're in the house. It's daytime. We'll find it. We'll find it and roll it back.
Okay.
But it's.
Do you guys have any thoughts? I mean, but even also just the earthquake news. I mean, you can't. It's so demonstrably intentional. It's like, do you guys have any thoughts? I almost don't have any thoughts. But it's just the only thing I think of is like it's this very strange, dark rendering of like life on Earth.
Yeah.
Where it's
about
like
the fakest
if you turn on the
news.
TV, it's bad news.
Yeah, it's about the fakest sounding news I've heard in a movie. It's almost like it's not. It's weird. It's almost like in everything I've read about it, because I was trying to understand it myself, see what other people were thinking about it, and people were describing it as like black comedy and comparing it to the film and stuff. And I just don't see it. I don't know. It's very odd. I think that's the one thing that like, it's interesting that it's there, and that there's like. It's like there's an earthquake in where Hungary or something, Budapest, and like it's killed 1 million people, right? And but no one's talking about it because they don't feel connected to it.
But they're hearing it. It's like the only thing on the airwaves. Evan, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know.
I just found that a nice quirk of the film.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there is some larger, deeper thematic meaning to that, but I think it is just one of those, weird kind of esoteric details with the movie. But one thing I think we should talk about, because we sort of started this loop with talking about Geraldine in the deal. One thing is like there's like a lot of sort of amazing reviews that she got out of this movie in terms of her performance. Just a couple things just to shout her out, and then we can move on and talk
please.
about other things. But the SF Chronicle, when the movie came out, said her performance was extraordinary, and that I think this is kind of what you were saying earlier, Marcus, too. She adopts a unique speech pattern as Emily. She says everything as though she rehearsed it, and now blurting it out in what she hopes will be accepted as a reasonable replica of casual speech. That's kind of what you said, Tom. And Emily's manner only loses its furtive, dodging quality when she feels in control or when she flies into a rage, and that's just kind of a perfect sort of summation of just
her natural state.
Yeah, how amazing this is.
Can I bring up... if you don't mind, just we're having a Geraldine love fest here, and I really want to do that. That's kind of all I care about in a way. It's the heart of the film. Is just the scene that really caught my eye in the past few years of watching it is the quiet insanity of trashing of the flower bed. I'm just reading my note here, but there's something about that I almost had a stoned flashback when I rewatched it again the last few years, and just like it's, I mean, I guess it's not a tribute to her so much, but she's a component to it. But just it's the quiet unease is really hard to pull off, but he does it so well, especially in that scene. Her first big salvo of menace towards the wife, you know, where she like screws up her car, puts the flower. It's it's very childish, actually. You know what I mean? But it's almost like this is a very scary, silent, menacing child. It's childlike behavior. What does she do? Like she's like screw your flower bed, you know, and like I'm gonna put this flower in your car. It's like, okay, you know, and but she does it. Yeah, but in such a unique way, and I think that's a great scene that exemplifies it. It does get a little bigger and escalates with their second encounter, which we all obviously love, and that we could talk about Geraldine there. It's when Barry Berenson, the wife, current wife, is, you know, cutting vegetables, you know, like a housewife, and amazingly beautifully filmed, almost like horror. Geraldine Chaplin is just walking around the unoccupied parts of the house, other than the kitchen where the wife is, and then she just, and this is almost shocking. When I first was watching it, was like she just suddenly goes like, I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm Geraldine Chaplin, and I'm in the hallway, or I'm in the doorway of the kitchen, and then turn around and look at me, and it's like, holy shit, you know, and no explanation. And then she just does these little things, and I'd love to hear from you guys. But some of the little things she does, it's parroting. And she parrots what Barry Berenson says, you know, like, you know. And then she also, you know, Berenson just had the knife in her hand because she's cutting vegetables, and she just goes, ugh. And then, of course, Paige goes, ah, and she holds out a knife of her own and starts kind of laughing.
Legitimately creepy. Legitimately creepy. Yeah, totally.
Brilliant. It's as good. It's like as good as like a horror movie can get, and better. But it's, you know, at another level.
It's such an intense scene. You're like on edge. You don't know what she wants, and you know she's capable of anything because she's so casually walking around this house. Like, she's not afraid of getting caught, you know, and her behavior just keeps escalating. She's
not
capable
afraid of being
doing
caught.
Anything.
I know.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's really reckless.
The confidence.
And it's also like, and it's also like too, her performance in the sequence where she confronts Goldblum. You know, when Goldblum fires her for, you know, taking money out of the register, that's so very scary and very real, very true to life, and someone who's unhinged in that way. And that's another an incredible moment where Goldblum, you know, drops great Goldblum early, like the seeds of Goldblum here, where he's like well, you don't know what it's like to have a mother who, killed your father. So, okay, you know, and it's just like, it's this incredible fucking moment.
I mean, all hail to early Goldblum, you know.
I was like, is that his real mother? There's a picture of his mom, and I was like, I wonder if that's his real mom.
Yeah, they cut into that, like the actor's mom. I just actually, please, sorry, go ahead.
Let me just, and then don't forget that scene goes from that, which is incredibly real and sane, to then her just charging off, going into her colleague's office and kneeing her in the crotch, which is that's when this movie is on fucking fire. So
Alfre Woodard.
She's amazing. She's incredible in this movie too.
She's great.
This is what I just wanted to make a side comment. There's something. I don't want to sound like I'm insulting Altman, but maybe I am. I feel like Rudolph in this film succeeded in ways that Altman always wanted to do, and tried and did a good job, and at least it was his idea, was to flesh out really small ancillary characters and make them feel really lived in, and to do it with great economy, meaning like it's not just a person who's also working at the shop. Like, you kind of know the security guard, right? You know, like you get to know him a little bit. You get to know the guy, the guy who's going out with Alfre Woodard, the kind of gross cowboy guy. You kind of get some characterization, very economically done, and I don't even know how they do it, but like you kind of, he's like a real fleshed out little mini person. And Jeff Goldblum. There's only 2 Jeff Goldblum scenes,
and Pike too, the landlord.
Of course, and Moses Gunn, who's her neighbor. And kind of a superintendent guy, security guard, and that's actually the most tender moments she has with him. That's probably all she could muster, is like kind of a stiff hug and like a sharp small kiss on the cheek, you know. But she liked him, but she was just still using him and left town and all that. But like, I mean, another person for her to manipulate, you know. But he broke through to her a little bit, and it's kind of sweet and kind of sad. Their little thing together. It's like a mini romance inside the film. And yeah, Moses Gunn is awesome.
That's a great point. That's the economy of with which you get to know those characters, and also pointing out that they don't know how. I don't know how they do it either. It's amazing. Yeah, it's like if you didn't know, you'd be a master filmmaker, I guess.
Absolutely, you know? I know. No, I'm in awe of it. You talk to me, guys. Like, what are some of the components? It's like, well, it's the you know what? It's probably all improv, and he probably had them like create their own person or something.
There's a lot of details, like, you know, she's got a wig. You know, the
Woodard.
Alfred. Woodard's got a wig. We see her without the wig too. You know, so we see different stages. We see her getting dressed.
Right.
We see her like at a very confident moment when she's getting hired. We see her like getting at her lowest moment after she's getting kneed in the crotch by Geraldine. You know, like,
well, you know what some of it is maybe it's how people are different from one person to another.
That's what it is.
It's just a little part of it. It's like, it's so well thought out that it's like, you know, Goldblum's going to be a little bit like this to Woodard's character, and then kind of like that to this new employee.
It's all complex. It shows the complexity.
Yeah,
it's the complexity.
Complex social interaction. Oh, it's so fucking good. Oh.
It's really good. And last little shout out to Geraldine, and then let's move on. Is the other just great little snippet review of her performance is that the Washington Post said she creates something new in the modern pantheon of weirdos, and that's saying something, playing opposite of Anthony Perkins. She is chilling in her ability to be both guilty and innocent, victim and predator, catatonic and driven by feelings so deep they draw blood.
Yes, exactly. And that references to some of the duality we've been talking about this whole time.
Right.
About her character, where it's not one thing, which is, guess what? Something we shouldn't be so surprised about. A real, fleshed out, well written, like nuanced character,
and versus a two-dimensional character.
I know. Right? It's like we're so starved. It's like it just seems like. I mean, it is a remarkable performance and a screenplay and everything. All of it. The whole film.
Yeah. Well, you were talking tonight. You were saying before we started recording. You were comparing it to some other 2020 stuff in terms of the 2020s.
When we were railing against, it seems like we all are in accord here at one fucking hour about, and I feel very strongly every day more and more lamenting. I call it plot porn. Okay, I'll try to be anecdotal and get out of this quickly, but like, I never watched Breaking Bad. I don't have an opinion either way. Whatever, doesn't look like my thing, but whatever. But I love Mr. Show. I love Bob Odenkirk. So I went, all right, I'll watch Better Call Saul. I'll give it a shot. So it's on, and I'm like, okay, he's this guy, and I love Odenkirk, and he's a great actor, and it looks like he's got a nice performance to sink his teeth into. And then it becomes like, he's driving. Oh, he intentionally is hitting a skateboarding guy, and then the skateboarding guy is the brother of this other guy, and then now they're in a basement, and it's like, oh, and then the other guy calls and goes, oh, he's over here, and it's like, oh, no, there's a helicopter, and it's like, well, actually, you have to talk to his mom because his mom is blah, blah, blah. And it's like his mom, she died 3 years ago, and I'm like, I hate this. It's all like within one episode. It's plot porn, and you guys know what I mean.
Well, the whole thing,
and I rail against it. And all I'm to say to button this and make it relate to the film here is, Remember My Name doesn't have any plot. It's like you could write it on a napkin. It's a plot. I mean, it's like, what's the plot? It's like this woman gets out of jail after 12 years and stalks her ex-husband, and they have a little back and forth, and the movie ends. If you're talking about the plot. And I'm fine with it. I don't mind plots, but thoughts.
And they still build intrigue and surprise and
suspense.
Even with suspense, even with that like thin, loose, 3-line little plot. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with the modern approach is writing. It's just writing your character in a corner, man. And how do we get him out of there? And it's just like
and stretching things out and seeing people. And seeing people in peril and how they get out, plans going wrong and stuff like that. And
serialization, like tune in next week, and it has no, it's just endless plot evolving. But also I think the real scandal is that, well, in lieu of character development and the hard stuff, everything we've been describing tonight that this film does, seamlessly, instead of all that heavy lifting, just and then his twin brother comes and then the other guy gets shot and then and it's like, and then he's on the phone with the other guy hears the other guy on the phone, and it's like, that's easy. That's
Well,
just goofing around.
it's just trying to be clever. It's trying so hard to be clever. Like
Yes.
cleverness is what, is what the era we're in.
yes.
We're in the era of clever, where I think most
You're
people
right.
looking to make things and looking to be inspired from things watch shit like Remember My Name and start picking up like, the skill set of what, filmmaking and also the fact that you mentioned that there is a lot of literary qualities to this movie too, which are totally
Yeah,
gone.
I'm glad you said that, Marcus.
In the
Look,
sense of,
it's what you know. What it's the potential of film. You're seeing it now. We have a few more minutes. Here's what we haven't really gotten into so much, and I think Marcus really wanted to chew on this for a little while. But technique, like formal filmmaking technique. Now, right off the bat, the director of photography, the cinematographer, is Tak Fujimoto. Who's a bit of a legend. If I'm not mistaken, my brain is telling me that he lensed Seconds, which, by the way, we are so doing on One Fucking
Did he?
Hour.
I don't think he did.
I think so. Oh, Christ.
Uh,
All right,
I think-
I'm wrong.
Okay,
Oh,
he
no,
might
it's
have-
another guy.
He might have worked on it, but
James
he did,
Wong?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but he did do Silence of the Lambs, which is a pretty big monster.
Thank you. Help me out here, because
and
That is pretty
yeah,
advanced
some-
for that year. Like Silence of the
Totally.
Lambs kind of kicks the visual style into the 90s.
Yeah.
Changed
let's
everything.
let's do away with the 80s, and now we're in the 90s.
it progresses the
almost
form.
overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Tak, and he has some involvement in the look of Badlands, but we're not sure.
Yeah,
who it landed
he
on.
worked on Badlands, I think, probably early on in his career, but he went on to Miami Blues. He did a couple of the John Hughes
like that
flicks. He did Ferris Bueller shit. I mean, he's definitely real
right.
deal. But one thing,
Well, it looks great. That's all I'm saying.
unless Marcus, if you want to highlight any more of those qualities, I do want to spend a last few minutes when you're done to talk about Anthony Perkins. I'm just putting a pin in
Yeah,
that.
no, I think we should. Tak's awesome. We'll hit him again on another film, but
Okay.
we gotta save room for Anthony Perkins. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
So-
Anthony Perkins here is incredible. And you guys mentioned when we were before we started hit record, that there's definitely some sort of tangible, I don't know, he's really vibing on this role a lot for many reasons. So do you want to open that?
Oh yeah, well, we were bouncing this around before, but yeah. So look, I don't like talking about someone I don't know in their private life. It's gross to me, but of course that's common stock, for decades now. And Anthony was particularly private, so I'm not really excited about talking about this stuff. But from my understanding, he was gay, and that is near impossible to do that back then and just live, and much less have a film career. So he was very much closeted, and I think that the societal pressures got him into some pretty screwed up headspaces by the early 70s. This is my point. So that by the early 70s, it was being recommended to have really shitty psychotherapy, conversion therapy, and I think that that relates to his marriage to Barry Berenson. I think they were very close, and they had a really pretty beautiful, real intimate relationship. But I think he still was a gay man. But
Right.
he was sort of
I think
wearing
like
the
Tab
clothing
Hunter
of being
wrote that, and Tab Hunter wrote that in his book, that his therapist was like recommended that he have sex with women and like get married to one, and like he hadn't done that till he was like.
So
39
what I'm
or
saying is,
something.
what I'm saying is, this film shot in '77, and this is like coming maybe in the middle or towards the end of like this early to mid '70s chunk, where he is wrestling with that situation where he's having his mind brainwashed and fucked by these real creepy, like the kind of people who are like the therapist for like Brian Wilson, like real gross huckster shitheads, manipulative. So he was under their spell for a while, or at least this one primary psychotherapist hack. And so it was screwing him up. And
Right.
I think he was close to Barry. That's why it's so weird, the shadowing of some of this, because him having whatever relationship he wound up having with Barry is somewhat depicted in the film, because they're married in the film. Remember My Name. And I can't say I really know where his head was coming from, but I feel this was probably a very special performance for him. And he was exercising a bunch of feelings and hopefully cycling out of them, maybe even partly through this film, and it's going into the 80s and the last 10 years or so of his life. I would hope so. And they stayed together, by the way, till he died.
There's another interesting wrinkle there. I think, like in the film, it's really interesting. There's a lot of like masculine, like sort of like energy around Barry too. Like she's got short hair, she's wearing pants, she's dressed more like male-ish, The locksmith that comes to meet her is sort of like a male-ish. It's a female, but she's sort of like like a sort of, but more traditional. It's more traditional job for like men or whatever. So there's a little bit of like it's just interesting that like just compared to how Geraldine is like dressing like a sexy kind of woman, trying to dress in these like 1940s kind of like
lots of lipstick,
flowy, lots of lipstick, and
yeah, that's a good point.
Just cross comparing that with Barry, who's like short hair, pants, whatever. I don't know what it means, but I just noticed it.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume, just based on the circumstance of what we can understand of Anthony's life and how hard it must have been, that he was working through some things, hopefully, with this role in this film.
He's also ripped in this movie, by the way. He's like very he's been working out. Man. He's still very skinny, but boy, his like physique is like
that one shot where he comes out all like lanky and he's like shirtless.
Yeah,
it's
right.
I think wild.
There's a funny picture of them too, like on the mantle, where like he's got his shirt off and like she's kind of like Barry's kind of like touching his chest. It's a really funny picture that's on
he's kind of 70s cut, I'd say. It's all relative.
Yeah.
But God, what is it?
Got a minute 20.
Yeah. This goddamn clock. There's so much more I want to say. This is another horrible example. An hour is just not enough. I just had just the landscape. I could do a half hour on the landscape. I did blab too much about the parking lots of Thrifty's drugstores. But one thing I want to say is not just the construction. One thing that's kind of a sad visual metaphor is seeing lots of times these unfinished houses, just these skeletons of houses. No, but I know you were saying it one way, and that was great, and I hadn't thought of that. But just the visual metaphor of like these unmade houses always spoke to me, and how like empty and the empty. There's a lot of emptiness in the film, literally and figuratively. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's a lot that doesn't fill the air, which is very Southern California and very late 70s. And I think the metaphor that's so perfect is seeing these barely constructed skeletons of houses in the hills in the distance, and it just looked beautiful. It's beautiful on all levels: photography, symbolism.
There's another great shot where, like, it says he comes out of a bar that says "Clean Air Forever," like sort of like spray painted on the side of the bar, and then like behind him is the giant like oil refinery,
Yes.
And then you have it pulls back. There's the camera dollies, and there's like this parallaxing. It's beautiful.
It's kind of dusky
moment. Yeah, dusky.
Looks like another planet, kind of like Outland, like seeing like Martian landscape.
Wow.
It's a beautiful film.
Reference on that.
Second Outland reference. All right, we're out of time. I will say is special addendum. If you guys like this film, why don't we start a letter campaign to get it on fucking Blu-ray?
I have a feeling that people have probably tried, and I have a feeling that people.
Me too.
I mean, just now, 2022, just with all these video labels out there, I'm sure people have tried. I bet you're right. It's something to do with the music, But yes,
it might be Alberta Hunter's music.
Yeah, it might be. But I just wanted to say, fucking killer movie. Like I said last week,
it's
when
so
we tease
good.
it up, when we tease it up, it's literally. It is a gem in every sense of the word. this is when I think of a '70s gem, I think of this movie. So everybody, go check it out. DM us if you want a copy. If you want to see it.
Yeah. Highest possible recommendation. Yeah.
We'll definitely point you in the right direction. We don't advocate edibles and this movie, but. Definitely.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
It talked me down beautifully, and I had almost. No, that's what I'm saying. I panicked, and then I just calmed down when it started. I turned it on the TV, it spoke to me. No, I had a religious experience with a movie.
And from time to time, it does play in theaters. Sometimes you can catch it randomly. I think it played at BAM in Brooklyn. Sometimes it plays.
Oh, shit.
Definitely go check it out, because this movie with an audience also rips as well.
I hadn't done that. You did that? You've seen it with an audience? I never have.
Yes. Oh, it's incredible. Oh no, sorry. It played at what's the other fucking cool kids theater in Manhattan now that everybody Metrograph.
Of course, I could see them playing it.
Yeah. So,
good for them. Good for them.
Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. I just wanted to say one thing about last week, about our goofballs, April Fool's thing. Shout out to my poor friend Ryan, who's a longtime listener of One Fucking Hour. By the way, he's always checking out the every week. He's watching the episodes and following along.
Ryan.
He watched Remember My Name in preparation for this week's episode.
Great.
But he sent me a text message the other day saying, quote, "Was thinking I made it through April Fool's unscathed until I watched Garden State the other night."
No, does he mean he watched our episode? not the film.
the movie.
Oh my God!
That's a dirty trick.
Well, listen, we thought about this. Remember my name is a cleanser and redeems us. Like you're welcome. Like it annihilates Garden State on this like cosmic level. Like the Garden State particles like pop and disappear when you watch it.
No, you'll never get those 2 hours back, Ryan.
No. He said.
I think the best you can try is remember my name. That's all.
No, he says.
Sorry.
So then, the second sentence is he says, was actually looking forward to you guys ripping it apart. Haha.
Right.
You definitely got me on that one. So,
nice.
Sorry,
well, you know
Ryan.
what the punchline might be?
What?
Well,
let's do it.
Sorry. Well, that's an interesting idea.
Don't tempt us. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, might be something there.
Yeah, totally. You know? Well, we said 1,000 subscribers. If we get to 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, we will fucking do Garden State, Ryan. So spread the word.
Naked.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. But let's talk about what is next week, everybody, because I'm really excited about next week.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've done a doc, and I'm looking forward to getting back into that. I think, without thinking too hard, that our last documentary we did, I think was what the fuck's it called again?
Overnight.
Spinal Tap.
Overnight.
Overalls.
Overalls. That's right. The
Overalls.
chronicling the making of Boondock Saints. What a fucking ride that is! If you haven't seen that one, it's in the archives. But next week we're getting down with one of my favorite movies of all time. Seriously, probably a top 10 film for me. Very close, if not.
Yeah, it's great.
And that is, and I have my prop for it. We're going to be looking at the documentary Streetwise. Boom.
Ooh, you got the book. It's great. Yeah, I guys, I can't believe, we're all big fans of docs, and we talk about them a lot. Like at the lunch counter.
I make docs.
We just don't do them. Yeah, exactly. He makes docs on the television set, and like, let's do some docs, guys. What the hell? So this will be, back to the well with the documentary form, and I'm very excited. And it's a great film. And maybe we'll learn, tricks about ordering pizzas and stuff.
Well, we should set it up properly and say that it is a very harrowing documentary, brilliantly made, incredibly well photographed. One of the best photographed documentaries probably ever from 1984. Of course, it's sort of based upon the photography that's captured in this beautiful book here, this monograph.
It's got just about all the people that are photoed in the book are in the film, right? More or less?
Correct, more or less, yeah. So it's just a real gritty slice of life documentary about slice of life about teenager street kids living in Seattle in the 80s. It definitely goes places that are disturbing and stuff, but I mean it's an incredibly
but it's got a great emotional impact on many levels,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. So we're going to do that.
And it is available. It's fucking available. Criterion, if you got the Criterion app, it's definitely on there, so go check it out. But I'm sure it's available to everybody else. It wasn't for a long time, but now it is. So Streetwise, 1984. Right. We'll see you next week with that, guys. Marcus, anything you need to say to the good people before we get out of here?
I love you.
Okay. That was supposed to be aloha.
Marcus loves his people.
Okay.
He's the love guru now.
All right, everybody. Well, we can't let you go. We can't let you go without your goddamn moment of Zen, which will be playing for you right now. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a good rest of your weekend. All right. Take care.
Bye.
So long.
Bye.
Solitary, wide my world, narrow my bed, never, never will I marry
motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
$86 in Nud's office tomorrow morning, Rita.